we have the product. We have some of the best basketballers in the world. We're so good. But it's hard when we're kind of underfunded. We've got less of support, not just financially, but also in terms of staff and people working within organizations that have the ability to just get stuff done. So I think a combination of those things plus the media exposure is really, really important. And it's media making choices to support women's sport. And I think, Canberra do it really well. The Canberra Times are always thinking about, having a 50% or more coverage of women's sport at in their paper. They're thinking about that and making those conscious decisions to do that. And I think other newspapers, other news outlets need to do the same thing and really buy into the positive stories that we have to share.
So you said Canberra Times are looking to do 50-50 or slightly favoured towards the women's. What do you reckon other outlets percentage-wise would be at in terms of male versus female?
Sometimes you open a paper and it's got, one article or just some written words and no paper, no photos of any female athletes. And it just kind of brings you down because it makes you realize how different it is. And especially with all the different sports that we have going on these days, there's, AFLW, obviously, and netball, there's hockey, there's lots of different things all over, soccer, so many great sports all around Australia. And it's just trying to find the ways to support them. And I think if you have them visible in media, then people will start to get interested and just follow on a little bit more and hear more about it. And you buy into the story. It's like having things on free to air TV. People will watch if it's there and if it's an option. So yeah, I think at the moment it varies all over the country. Some places do it really well, some places don't do it as well and would have like a 20%. Some places I think would have 50-60% females. But I've had that thought before, and it happened when I was in Western Australia one year that we were playing Perth in a semi-final, and it was the day before a game, and I opened the paper and there was nothing, not an article about the women playing the next day. And I tweeted about it saying how ridiculous it was and it should be there, because you can't tell me that if it was a men's team, the Perth Wildcats, who get like 10,000 people to a game, that if they were playing the next day, they would not have one article in the paper. And then the man who usually wrote articles for the female team, he contacted our club and said how he'd written so many articles in so many days. And I was like, that's not the point. It's not on you. It's about the organization. It's about the strategy. It's about the vision and what you're trying to show and present. And that was just like a prime example of that. And then you go to the game and there's barely 1,000 people there. And I was like, surprise, surprise, it's, and that's where it is.
So media coverage, if it doesn't even need to be going on free to air just yet, just like one small step of media coverage, a few more journalists posting about it, writing articles about it, something like that.
Just like you guys are doing what you do and choosing to support female sport. It's about that. And it's really important not just to have the big, newspapers or media firms to do that. It's about independent ones as well, reaching out. And so I really appreciate you for contacting me. So thank you.
Thanks for coming on. We love hearing about it and hearing everyone's story. And it's super fascinating because like, I guess it is a business, so there needs to be money made, and how do you bring money in? And then it's like bums on seats, but then like, how do you bring the bums on seats in? It's almost like a chicken before the egg. It's like, if we do this, will this happen, or this needs to happen before this. It's a difficult.
and it yeah, it is tough. And I think, but the storytelling is so important in that, because there are so many stories out there of really interesting things about different people and different players, different sports, and it's about getting people to feel connected to that. And so once people feel connected, then they will have a reason to go, a reason to put their money where their mouth is,
100%. Playing in the women's NBA, was there more coverage of that? Because I feel like even in the last year, just from what I'm seeing, because I love to follow the NBA, I'm seeing just a lot more on the women's NBA, and just recently on the draft. I actually saw quite a bit on the women's NBA draft. So I thought, this is the first time I've seen this. Like, this is cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. And I think it's something that they've really focused on the last few years, and they've had a conscious effort from the players union that come together and try and make some changes within the league. And that's been a big driving force in Australia as well. The Australian Basketballers Players Association have been really great in making some fundamental changes in our league. It's been awesome. And it's the same in the WNBA. They've made quite a few changes over the last few years with the new collective bargaining agreement. And I think that helps visibility as well. And initially and traditionally, the WNBA had a lot of stigma and stereotypes around it, but I think some of that is going now, and especially with the support of different NBA players. And it was heartbreaking because Kobe was one of the best for it. He loved women's basketball. He brought his daughter to games. He, was so involved all the time. And unfortunately, with his passing, we've lost one of the really, really good ones on this earth. But lots of NBA players are now doing the same thing, and that's really helping us as well.
Yeah, 100%. Who, other than Kobe, has been crucial and fundamental in progressing women's basketball?
So the season that I played in the WNBA was for the Los Angeles Sparks, and a part owner of that is Magic Johnson. So he's definitely one, because he's put his money into our league and our team.